Does she exist?
Maybe.
I'm saying this.
Maybe. Could you be a brain in a jar in a museum?
Maybe, I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
How can you be sure?
I just said I'm not sure. I don't know.
How can you be sure?
I just said I can't be sure. I don't know.
Look, you made a statement, I cannot be sure. How are you certain that you cannot be sure?
Because I have uncertainty.
You have uncertainty.
How
Are you
come-
certain about your uncertainty?
No, I said I don't know.
Did you hear what I said? Do these women, female, who prefer to have female-only changing rooms, do they have the right to be only females within this changing room? Do they have that right?
I don't think they have the right to discriminate there. But I'm saying that
Discriminate
you
based on what?
discriminate based on perceived.
Perceived?
Yes.
They're saying,
You are saying
we
that they're
want
a male.
female-only changing room here, only females. And they feel comfortable, and they feel if
I'm saying that they don't
anyone
have the
who
right to
identifies
force others
themselves,
out.
Mason,
But there's
I-
a complete way to fix the
can I-
problem.
can I-
Create unisex changing rooms.
but they're not happy
It's
with
that
it.
easy.
They're not happy with it. So are you going to force
Okay, I've
them?
never seen a trans person or a gender
We're
queer
not
person
talking about trans.
be upset with unisex changing rooms. What do you mean we're not talking about trans? This is a trans issue of access to spaces.
Mason, try to understand. If we have all the females in a female changing room, they're very happy with only female changing room. And they're not comfortable and happy to anyone who is a structurally male, whether they identify with a female or not, to come in and have in the same room to change.
Again,
And they
I think
don't
that's
want
an issue in the same
Mason,
way that
Mason,
a straight man saying
Mason,
no
can I
gay
finish?
people would be
Can
an
I make-
issue in their
can I-
shared space.
Can I finish? They don't want a shared changing room. Do they have the right to have a female-only changing
I
room?
don't think they have the right to discriminate. Again, just build unisex spaces.
So
Problem
now you're
solved.
saying they should be forced to accept a unisex changing room. They should
Are
be
you
forced.
saying that trans people should be forced to not
I'm
be
not
allowed
talking
to
about
go in
trans.
spaces in the
I'm not
neighborhood?
talking about trans.
You are literally
I'm talking about
you were saying
Mason.
biological females should have a right to discriminate against trans women.
No.
I'm saying that
Hear
trans
me
women
out.
have a right not to be discriminated against.
Hear
Your
me
right
out.
to discriminate does not trump their right not to be discriminated against.
Mason, you're not listening.
I've answered your question.
But you're not
Mansur.
listening though. What I'm saying is, you are now infringing on the rights of those individual females who wanted a female-only
I don't
changing room.
believe that that is their right. Their right to discriminate.
So
does
now
not
you're
trump their right
enforcing.
to be discriminated
So
against.
basically now you're forcing them to accept
So
another
basically,
narrative.
You're forcing trans women to accept being discriminated
So now
against.
so now it's very good. So now the question is, should we force?
I'm
Should
saying
we?
their right to discriminate does not trump
My
the other
friend,
person's
just
right
1 second. Hold on
not
1
to be
second.
discriminated against.
Mason.
Again, I have a right to swing my fist, but I don't have the right
Mason,
to hit your nose
don't-
with my
don't
fist.
conflate-
Just as you have the same way to do that.
Don't conflate
my right
many
to
issues.
swing my fist ends at your nose. Your right not to be hit.
Don't conflate issues. So now you're saying,
I'm not conflating issues.
The question-
I apply that to all of my moral
why
claims.
don't you listen rather than keep on talking?
Mansur, I've answered your question. You keep answering the
But
same
do you know my question now
I
is?
do not think they have the right
We have
to
moved on.
discriminate.
We have moved on. The question now is about force. Forcing people. Do you accept it's okay to force people to accept an opinion against their wishes?
It's the intolerance paradox. I think that we have a right to not allow intolerance because when you allow intolerance, it diminishes tolerance.
So what's the answer?
I think that you have to allow them into those spaces because it is their right to be there.
What's
more
my
than the
question you're
right to
answering?
kick them out.
What's the question you're answering, Mason?
You're talking about whether I think it's okay to force acceptance on people. Yes, it is. It's enforcing human
it's
rights.
okay.
Your
Wait,
argument
wait.
is no different than
Slow
the
down,
argument of
slow
white
down.
Americans when they tried to force
Slow down,
segregation.
Mason. Slow down, right? You're not in a battlefield. Speaker's corner. We can engage and learn from each other. So you're now saying it is okay to force people to change their opinion against their wishes.
No, I'm saying it's okay to enforce rights. Mansur, in
Rights,
America, in
rights,
the 1960s,
rights. Mason, we're now moving into rights. That's why you moved. From choice, enforced, and rights. Who determines our rights?
people do.
So if a group of people determines that you have no right to have these biologically structured, male-structured individual identified as a female to enter into a female changing room, you're okay with that?
Do you think that, so the American government has ruled...
Stop.
No,
I am not talking about America. I am not talking about England. I am talking
Okay.
about rights.
Yes,
You
this
said
is a
stop.
topic of rights.
So,
the American
can
government
I
is giving
make my
doctors
point?
the right to discriminate on
Hello,
providing me
Mason,
healthcare because
Mason,
I'm gay.
Mason.
I don't believe they have the right to do that in the
Mason,
same way that I don't believe that
Mason,
you have the right
Mason,
to say, yeah, people just don't have
Mason,
human rights. I
just-
don't care about your
just
opinion about
talking
other people's
over
human
me
rights
and
because I don't
shouting
agree with
is
your
not a
moral
good argument.
framework. No, what I'm saying
You're
is
not making
I
an
don't
argument.
agree with your moral framework. It
Listen,
doesn't
listen,
matter.
listen. You said people determine rights. Did you not say that? People. Do you agree?
Yes.
Right. If a group of people determine the rights that you can only go to a female changing room if you're a female, are you happy with that?
No, because I disagree
Stop,
with that
stop,
morality.
stop. We are talking about rights determined by people.
Yes, and I'm saying that
Stop,
rights
stop,
ought
stop,
to be moral, and
stop,
I disagree with the morality
stop,
behind it.
Stop. Look how we're moving from. We're moving from choice, identity, force, rights, now to morality. What you're doing like a chameleon, shifting the goalposts.
No,
Stop,
I'm
stop,
saying
stop,
that
stop,
rights are
stop,
determined by what
stop,
we believe
stop,
via morality that people
stop.
should have a right to access.
Excuse
Mansur,
me.
I'm saying
Mason,
that rights are determined by
Mason.
morality, but just because something is or is
Wait.
not enumerated in rights does not mean it is
Who
moral.
determines morality?
Just because something is a law does
So
not
we
mean that
now-
it is just, that it is right, that it is moral.
So we are now talking about from rights to morality. Who determines what is moral and what is not?
Every individual does for themselves.
Right. So every individual. So if I now decide no female in a male changing room.
Oh, this is
I
Iran.
disagree.
Iran.
My morality says that that is wrong, that
So,
is immoral.
so now, why are you now saying if rights are determined by morals and morals by individual person, and I am saying my rights, my morals, and this is my opinion, should you be able to now enforce your opinion against me?
If it's protect other people, yes. If you said that you don't believe women have
You
the
know
right
what?
to speak,
Do you
I
see
believe
how-
that
do you see how you've done?
to protect that.
Your position is a circular position.
It's not. I've been very clear in it. If you said
Did
women
you
do
hear-
not have the right to, let's say, walk on the street on their own, I don't have to agree with you. I am more than happy on forcing my opinion that women have equal rights to men
If a
on
country,
you.
if a country decides what is moral and what is not, would you accept?
No, America decided slavery was
Who's talking
moral.
about America?
I don't accept that.
You
You
keep it
are.
America.
If a country decides if it's moral or
talking
not,
about
would you
America?
accept?
Look.
No, I wouldn't, because laws
Why are you so
are often
obsessed with
not
America?
just. Laws are not moral. Because
Why are you
I'm
so obsessed-
arguing from a paradigm that I am more
Why are you so
familiar
obsessed with America?
Because I am arguing from a paradigm I am familiar with.
Right. So I'm going to give you a paradigm that you're not familiar with. So let's talk about this. If a country decides what is moral and what is right, would you accept?
No.
So what is the basis of acceptance then?
The
Well, I
basis of acceptance is whatever you believe it is. Everyone has a different
So
opinion
if
on
I
morality.
believe no female should enter a male changing room, then it's okay, right?
That's your belief. I don't
Then-
agree with it. I don't think it's right.
So you only agree with what you think is morally right.
Yes, I agree with what I morally believe
Right,
in.
right. So if you think here, I think smoking heroin, ganja, and hashish is okay, it's okay.
According to you, it is.
No, according to you.
I don't believe it's objectively okay or not.
Wait.
Just because
Mason,
either of us think
I'm-
that. I don't
you're
believe
confusing.
any
You're
morality
confusing.
objectively.
If you think now, I can have controlled drugs in public and possess controlled drugs in public in UK, it's okay, right? According to you?
One more time. Sorry.
In the United Kingdom, if you say, I feel, in my opinion, it's okay to consume controlled drugs like heroin, right? Narcotics, which are controlled by different schedule within the law.
I don't care about that. Go for it.
Would you say that you'd argue against the police and the country and say, it's my right because I feel it's okay?
Yes, I advocate for the decriminalization of drugs in America. They're used by a tool of the police
Yeah.
to keep poor people down, poor people predominantly being people of color in America. The war on drugs saw the classification of all of these drugs into our class system specifically to keep poor people down, people of color down. So I argue for the decriminalization. The whole point of societal change is people with their subjective moral opinions challenging the status quo so we can move forward.
So basically you're saying, whatever you feel is good for you. You determine what is good and what is bad.
Everyone determines what's good or bad
Right,
for themselves.
right. Who created you?
My mom,
And who created your mom?
her mom,
And eventually who created the first human being?
whatever creatures we
Who created the world?
Physics, gravity,
Sorry?
physics and gravity. The forces of nature
Who
eventually saw the
created
star stuff of
Who
stars
created the forces
pulled
of
together
nature?
because of gravity when they came together.
Mason, who created the forces of nature?
No one.
Does that make sense to you? You are now being very profound so far. Now let's see how logical and consistent that you are. Who created the cosmos?
I don't believe anyone created the cosmos.
So the cosmos was always there?
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, that's what. If it was not always there, could it create itself when it was not there?
Never said it created itself. I said I don't know.
Remember what you
because
said?
I don't know.
I'm going to take both of your position. Maybe it was always there, maybe it wasn't. There's only two options you've given. Is there any third?
Maybe.
Like what?
I don't know. That's the whole point.
If
I don't know how the universe came into being.
If you don't know about an opinion, then you can't put it on the table because we can't examine it.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the opinions that you put forward on the table, that the universe was always there, or maybe it wasn't always there.
I'm saying I'm not accepting your premise that those are the only two options.
If you want me to examine another option, put it forward on the table. I will
I'm
examine.
saying I'm ignorant of other options, so presenting two
Then
like they're
don't-
the only two options
Then
is fallacious.
don't talk about some things that you have no idea about.
I'm saying that because we don't know about it, you can't present these two options like they're the only two options.
You
We
cannot.
don't know if there's
You
a third or
cannot.
a
You
fourth or
cannot have a
quintillion.
position that I can assess when you haven't got a clue about it.
That's my whole point. I've not got a position because I am ignorant of how the universe came into
Could you be
being.
a brain in a jar in a museum?
Maybe, I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
How can you be sure?
I just said I'm not sure. I don't know.
How can you be sure?
I just said I can't be sure. I don't know.
Look, you made a statement, I cannot be sure. How are you certain that you cannot be sure?
Because I have uncertainty.
You have uncertainty.
How
Are you
come-
certain about your uncertainty?
No, I said I don't know.
Did you hear what I said?
Are you certain about your uncertainty? I'm uncertain about my uncertainty just as I'm uncertain about my certainty.
What does it mean you're uncertain about your uncertainty?
It means I don't know. It means I'm capable of admitting when I don't know something.
Yeah. So you could be non-existent either, right, at the moment? Does she exist?
Maybe.
Maybe. So he thinks you probably don't exist. Maybe.
Did I say she probably didn't exist, or did I say I'm not sure she's actually there? For all I know, I've suffered some psychotic break in a mental hospital, and this is all due to my imagination. I can't be sure.
You can't be sure. Is there a way of making ourselves sure?
There are ways of achieving near certainty. You could measure it. You could tangibly.
So you can't be. So you can't be. You
I
can't be
don't
sure
think
about
your eyes
anything.
are completely